I am not a financial advisor, and I never give financial advice on this channel. 100% of this content is for entertainment purposes only. Hello everybody, hope you're all doing well. It's Lane here with MetaShackle. It's been quite a day in the crypto markets this morning, as most of you have probably seen if you've been paying attention. I just wanted to take a quick look at the XRP chart as well as the Bitcoin chart, as there's been some pretty interesting developments. So let's not waste any more time and let's get into the charts. First off, taking a look at the XRP 4-hour chart, you can see that price is now trading below the Gaussian channel, which is a bearish sign. Price actually broke through the monthly trend line right here that I've outlined on a few of my charts, although it is still holding the weekly trend line, which is down here well within the liquidity zone. Even with today's bearish price action moving downward, this liquidity grab did not quite sweep the previous candle here, but stopped just above it. Price traded right down into this bullish order block on the 4-hour chart, which is now the 5th time that this block has been used for liquidity. Once here just above the block, twice here, 3rd time, 4th time, and 5th time. And the best part about this is, which shows the strength of this particular bullish order block, is the fact each time it was only wicked into. And only one time were there any candle body closes within the structure itself right here, which is very bullish, as this area could likely continue to act as support, moving the price upward. But if we don't get out of this area and get up above the Gaussian channel, we could take additional draws on liquidity in this area, and eventually, if this is broken, we could break to the downside. Also here, my $2.05 to $2.07 price cap range has still not been touched since I have posted it. And the worst case scenario range, which is resting down here at $1.96 below the weekly trend line, would act as our worst case scenario for bullish momentum to continue. The only thing that gets me thinking, looking at these charts, that draws a little bit of concern is the fact, if you look at this chart, there's going to be sell-side liquidity resting below these lows, as well as each of these lows here, which means that the algorithm is generating sell-side liquidity intentionally, which is why it did not sweep this previous low. It makes no sense for the algorithm to come down to this point here and not sweep this previous low, which could be a sign that in the future we may come back down into this range, taking out all of the liquidity that's resting below these previous lows. Which could be a bad sign if you're bullish on XRP, but at the same time, we want to clear out those lower liquidity ranges, because that would be a marker for moving price upward, where the algorithm would start to seek after buy-side liquidity. But also remember, even though this liquidity range down here still has liquidity within it, enough time has passed since its formation that a lot of this liquidity has been drawing upwards towards current price as people close their positions and take profits. So what we're seeing is the liquidity moving upwards this way, because as people have been putting trades on up in this upper range area that we've been trading in, those stop losses and liquidation points of leverage positions are going to be resting in this area instead. So you're going to start seeing an increase in a concentration of liquidity in this range right through here, likely above this weekly trend line and between these lower ranges that have not been taken out by this liquidity candle. So all in all, that's a good sign that this held, and you can see this was a clear liquidity draw, and a lot of times that can be a good sign that we could be seeing a move to the upside. But at the same time, the bullish hidden divergence that had the potential to form has now been invalidated due to this move downwards. But something good did come out of this. For additional information and exclusive perks, do consider joining me on Patreon. As on the Bitcoin charts, on the 4-hour chart, we have now formed a strong bullish divergence between this downtrend here of these 2 points and this uptrend here on these 2 points. And if you're going to see a divergence on the charts, you want to see a strong bullish divergence, because that could be an extremely bullish sign. And the main difference between Bitcoin and XRP, as you can see, is that Bitcoin swept this previous low right here with this liquidation candle, coming to the bottom trend line of the handle that we're currently forming on the charts. This candle also thrust through this upper bullish BTC right here on the 4-hour and actually took a draw on liquidity at the smaller lower one. It's important to remember that although this lower trend line of this handle rests at this point right now, it doesn't mean that a move can't come to the downside, say coming to this BTC in this area, perhaps taking out this reverse waterfall, which would cause this lower trend line to be adjusted accordingly. As creating these trend lines is not a static thing, it's more dynamic. But this strong bullish divergence right here that is formed on the 4-hour chart could be a good sign that we're at least in the short term going to see a move up in this direction, potentially challenging the equilibrium zone, as this bullish fair value gap here has been filled, but we were rejected off of the price here, have since created another bearish SIBI here, and may form a smaller one in this area if price doesn't pull back up above this lower wick. All in all, even though this liquidation probably took out quite a few leverage traders and hit quite a few stop losses, by forming this strong bullish divergence, this could be a good sign moving forward. What we need to see is price breaking through the equilibrium zone and taking a shot at this bearish order block. But to where price has been rejected off of this area previously, it's not going to be easy. It's certainly not impossible, but it's going to be a challenge. Because ultimately what we would like to see is the price getting out up above the cup and handle rim line right here, so that we can see the breakout of this cup and handle pattern moving to the upside, which I believe is going to come a lot sooner than people think. My target for Bitcoin still remains 119,000 to 123,000 for the first target, 130,000 for the second target, and right around $150,000 for the third target. And I think we will be setting a new all-time high sooner than you might think in Bitcoin, which will likely drag up the rest of the market with it. We all know how manipulated the crypto market is, especially within certain cryptocurrencies like XRP. But you can even see here in the Bitcoin chart that we had this area of accumulation right here breaking to the upside, which was a fake out, coming right down to the downside, sweeping some of the sell side liquidity here after just taking out some of the buy side liquidity that was resting here. We then started to accumulate in this area in the same fashion, breaking to the upside again, sweeping buy-side liquidity, breaking to the downside, sweeping this candle low here, and wiping out the sell-side liquidity for the entire pattern. But we still have buy-side liquidity remaining up in this area, down here, and right through here, which if price can get up into this bearish order block moving upwards, it may be able to digest enough of these sell orders that it can get into this sell side liquidity, moving up into this range here, up on the upper trend line, which could give us the fuel that we need to break out of here and eventually challenge this bearish order block resting right here at about 111,000. If we can get above this, nothing is going to stop us from going up to this upper trend line, at which point we'll have to reassess, as we will be back in no man's land, having set a new all-time high at that point. So overall, we saw some pretty interesting things happen in the market today, and even though it didn't work to a lot of people's favor, each time the price moves into different areas, it gives us additional information. And the more information that we receive, the better decisions that we can make in regards to trading or acquiring for long-term investments. But it's also very important to always keep in mind that you must manage your risk accordingly. Even though I still believe that we're going to see a move to the upside very soon, the potential to break to the downside cannot be ruled out 100% and still exists in the charts. So you have to keep that in mind if you're bullish, because price could break down to start filling some gaps in those lower ranges on both XRP and Bitcoin. And if you're bearish and thinking the price is going to go down, then you also need to be aware of the fact that we have incredible patterns set up right now that if they play out correctly, could set up for an incredible break to the upside. So it doesn't really matter which side you're on at the current moment. There's potential for moves in the opposite direction on the charts that simply cannot be ruled out. Even though with current events, it's probably leaning to where it's more likely to move to the downside than it is to the upside, but I still remain bullish overall in my medium-term perspective. Looking at things in the short term, it's always a flip of the coin no matter how you're looking at things. And long term, I think we can all agree that we're going to likely see much higher prices than what we're seeing now in certain assets. Not all, certain. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate each and every single one of you. Have a great day.